Before this video starts, I'm aware that it is April the 1st, April Fool's Day, but I don't play those games. This is not a joke. This is a real news story. Yesterday, at long last, we got our first look at the upcoming Google Pixel 10 Pro Fold, and much like the other Google Pixel 10 devices, it looks pretty much exactly like last generation's model. That being said, in that a little bit of news from yesterday, there was one very, very important bit of information that was rather conspicuously missing, and that was details on the dimensions of this device. Now, given the fact that this thing does, again, look pretty much identical to last year's model with a couple of very small changes, which I will go over once again here in just a little bit. I think it was pretty safe to assume that most of these dimensions would be basically the same, but there is that one all-important one, the thickness. Just how thick would this device be? We do now live in a world with devices like the Oppo Find N5 existing 4.2 millimeters thick. So how would Google respond to this? Would they try to push their thickness or thinness even further with the Pixel 10 Pro Fold? Well, luckily, Android Headlines, the source of these renders in collaboration with OnLeaks, one of the most well-regarded tech tipsters around, they have updated their original article and they have added some dimensions. So I have my own little write-up here, and what they are saying is that the Pixel 10 Pro Fold's dimensions will be about, so I'm assuming they mean kind of around, 155.2 millimeters by 150.4 by 5.3. Now, if you've been following these devices for a while, those numbers might immediately seem strange to you because they're actually larger than last year's Pixel 9 Pro Fold. The first number is the same. The second number is different by 0.2 of a millimeter. And that last number, the thickness, is also off by 0.2 millimeters. It's the same, but ever so slightly bigger. Now, to their credit, Android Headlines has acknowledged that OnLeaks renders are occasionally off by fractions of a millimeter, and because of that, they are expecting the Pixel 10 Pro Fold to be virtually identical to the 9 Pro Fold, and I think that that does make a lot of sense. There is absolutely not a snowball's chance in hell that Google is going to release the 10 Pro Fold and make it thicker than the 9 Pro Fold, while everyone else is going thinner and thinner. Now, one interesting side effect to this is that it's actually possible that you're going to be able to use the same cases as you did last year, with at least a couple of exceptions that I can quickly point out here. If all the dimensions are the same, the cases should fit in the same place unless they've moved their buttons around. It doesn't look like they have. Here are the exceptions, though. On the cover display half of the device, they have added an additional speaker down here to the bottom. So if your case does cover that cover display half, it's probably going to cover up that speaker. One other thing that might make the front half of these cases not work as well is that it does appear as though this area right here next to the screen has been shrunk. On the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, there's a pretty big space over there, and they look like they've kind of filled that in just a little bit, and if all the other dimensions are the same, that should mean that this cover display is slightly wider than last year. The microphones that are visible and the speakers, so forth, on the other side do look to be basically identical. So again, it's possible that you might just be able to use a last-gen case on your current-gen Pixel 10 Pro Fold. I think that we are kind of on the precipice of a very interesting question, though. When it comes to these foldable devices, how thin is thin enough? If you're talking about a slab-style phone, I honestly don't think it matters all that much. Where we have kind of landed, I think, is absolutely fine. Gives you plenty of room for a big battery, but it's not super thick and it's not super heavy. But when you're talking about a folding phone, a phone that has to be folded in half, if you are trying to arrive at a place where it is kind of, comparable to a normal phone in terms of thickness and in terms of weight, somewhere around where the Oppo Find N5 is, I think is about where you want to be. And because of that, if that is sort of the perspective, That does mean that the Pixel 9 Pro Fold and ostensibly the Pixel 10 Pro Fold is a little bit heftier than maybe they should be pushing for it to be. And you have to contend with the rumors that Samsung is apparently finally just getting with the program and taking the Galaxy Z Fold Special Edition that was only launched in South Korea and China last year, taking that design, making it even thinner, allegedly around 4.5 millimeters, and they're going to ship that as the Galaxy Z Fold 7. So finally, a Z Fold device with a normal aspect ratio cover display, a wider inner display, a thickness that is right there with the thinnest devices on the market. We're going to have a bigger vapor chamber, the newer processor, an improved primary camera, 200 megapixels, same sensor, presumably, from the S25 Ultra. That is a pretty darn big set of improvements as Google seemingly spins their wheels with the same design as last year. They're going to be one of, if not the thickest and heaviest foldables around. We don't know about the weight. Hopefully they do bring the weight down pretty significantly, but it would surprise me if suddenly they caught up with these other devices. If all of this is accurate and Google really is focusing this heavily, almost exclusively, on the software side of the Pixel 10 Pro Fold, things like Pixel Sense, which we have talked about, maybe fingers very much crossed, that long rumored desktop mode for Pixel devices, for Android in general. Man, that would be a game changer if you had that interface from the now Pixel tablet on the Pixel 10 Pro Fold. That would be amazing. Maybe stuff like that can kind of make the hardware not changing worth it, but one might also really hope that the rumors, the little tidbit there at the end of that Android Headlines article is true, that there is a chance the Pixel 10 Pro Fold might actually lower the price a small amount. Hard to believe, like I said before, in 2025 when prices have only been going up and up and up and up on everything. But one can still hope. And hardware for hardware, it might make sense. Regardless, kind of a side tangent, things are lining up exactly as I kind of predicted that they might for the Galaxy Z Fold 7, with the door being left wide open. The OnePlus Open 2 did not come. The Oppo Find N5 did not ship in the United States as the OnePlus Open 2, so no competition there. The Pixel 10 Pro Fold, I'm sure it's going to be a great phone. I'm sure it's going to have a lot of really great software features, but it looks like Samsung might pretty significantly leapfrog them in terms of hardware specifications, that sort of quality thing. It's there for them. I don't think that Google has shown us anything with this hardware that leads me to believe they're going to truly challenge them on hardware. So, like I said, that door is wide open for Samsung. Guys, let me know what you think about all this in those comments down below. Check out the written article on shanecraig.tech linked in the description down below. I'll see you on the next one, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.